Hey, welcome everybody to Wrestling with Cruises. I'm Alex Abrahantes, and I wrestle with cruise questions so that you don't have to. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time joining us, well, very excited to have you. This is a show which is just a fun conversation about, let's face it, where frankly I wish I currently was at sea, sailing on a cruise ship, going probably to somewhere warm with some palm trees and lots of sand and just tons of relaxation and all that good stuff that cruises provide us. But since we can't do that, well then guess what? Each and every week, I bring somebody on where we have a great conversation about their experiences, about what they're looking forward to doing, and just have a great time. So this week is absolutely no different. My guest this week is actually the first ever repeat guest that I've had on Wrestling with Cruises here. He actually helped me do kind of the pilot episode of Wrestling with Cruises. I just had this wacky idea one day, and I'm like, hey, Robbie, do you want to do this thing? And he's like, sure. So we had a great time then, and I thought it'd be awesome to have him back so that we can continue the conversation because he is a cruise fanatic. And I thought I love cruising. This guy's got me beat hands down like a million times over. But before I want to bring him on, I wanted to mention there's a couple ways that you can interact with the show. So if you're watching us on Facebook, feel free to leave a message in the comments below, either a comment that you like the show, you don't like the show, questions about cruising, whatever the case may be. I'll see if I can read them on air. If you're watching this on Twitter, use the hashtag WWC Live, Wrestling with Cruises Live. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to comment below as well, and I'll see if I can pull those up as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guest who I mentioned. He is an absolute cruise fanatic. I had the pleasure of meeting him on one of the inaugurals, just like I met many of the other guests that have been on the show so far, and he's got great stuff on social media. If you're a cruise fan, you absolutely need to follow him because he just brings such a great perspective. Talk about an experienced cruiser. You're going to be blown away to hear how many cruises he's been on, how many cruises has been canceled since the pandemic started, and how many cruises he probably has scheduled up ahead. I mean, it's a lifetime of cruises. It's always fascinating talking to him because every time I talk to him, it seems like he's booked a different destination or a different experience. And he's got so many great stories and experiences, and he has so many friends throughout the many years of cruising that he's made on the ship. So really excited to talk to him. So without further ado, let me bring him on here. Let me just change a couple things here. All right, Robbie, how are you, my friend? This is Robby O'Malley, everyone, and a big cruise fanatic. So great to have you once again on the show.
It's so great to be back. What's better than talking about my favorite thing of cruising?
Being on a cruise ship. I got you beat there.
You got me. You got me.
Besides that, right?
Of course.
Well, thanks so much for coming back to the show. So let's catch everybody up to speed because if you didn't join us on kind of the inaugural pilot, whatever you may call it, edition of Wrestling with Cruises, Robbie, how many cruises have you been on? This is going to blow you away, everybody.
So with Norwegian, I've definitely been on more than 50. Just Norwegian. Of course, there's some other lines, but, I always keep going back to the place that I love the most.
I hear you. More than 50. That is phenomenal. See, these are life goals, folks. Life goals. More than 50. Absolutely incredible. And I'm with you on NCL. Now, what is it that you love about NCL?
I mean, it's going to sound so cliche, but being a freestyle cruise line makes a world of difference. When you don't have a set dining time, when you don't have to run on a schedule, that's what makes a vacation a vacation. And that's what I love most about Norwegian, just doing when you want, what you want, when you want, whenever you want.
Exactly. It's the freedom to vacation the way that you should be. And, when I was interested in cruising and I've heard throughout the years, before I started cruising, I heard throughout the years, oh, it's a great vacation. And it sounded awesome. But one of the things that kind of always struck me odd was, well, you've got to sit down with strangers that you don't know and eat with them every single night at a set dining time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what kind of vacation is that? Like, I'm paying my hard-earned money. I should just be able to do whatever I want when I want. And that's the great thing about NCL. A good friend of mine told me about NCL. I'm like, okay, this sounds like the perfect kind of vacation cruise idea. So why not do it? And I was hooked right away from NCL. I love the experience. I went on a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas, and like immediately after that, I booked a 7-day because I said, wow, this is awesome. And I know you'd agree, the staff on NCL is just absolutely top-notch, right?
That's the best part of it. And I've been there, done that with the dining with others. And yeah, it's
Mhm.
fun because I like going on a cruise to meet others, but once in a while you just want that freestyle experience that I run on a schedule at home. I don't want to run on a schedule on a vacation.
There you go, exactly. And what I love about NCL is the fact that you can be as busy as you want to be, or if you don't want to be busy at all and you just want to take it easy and relax. There are some cruises, like especially in the beginning, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but I wanted to do everything. Like I had like an itinerary that was packed from like morning to absolute night. Like I put it in my
Oh,
phone. I'm
yes.
like, all right, I got to be here. Oh, I can't be late for that. And then kind of as I got along, I'm like, all right, I'm going to pace myself. And then there are some cruises where I'm like, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to kind of hang out in my room and go on the balcony or, work out or whatever the case may be.
Right, and that's the best part of it because if you are one of the people who like to run on a schedule with things to do all throughout the day, schedule your shows at night, you could do that as well. I mean, you don't have to, go off the cuff like we do. You can definitely plan and schedule your activities some even before you get on the ship.
Now, do you have like a set? Obviously, you've cruised for such a long time that I'm sure you kind of already have in mind an itinerary. Like I for the most part, do. I've got like my workouts and kind of my meals already kind of planned in my head. And then, of course, with NCL, if you're booking a premium restaurant, you can book ahead of time. But do you find that you kind of have an itinerary that you kind of gravitate to on a regular basis?
Yeah, so like not so much on the ship because every cruise is a new experience, a new
Right.
adventure, sometimes even going to new places. But I know for me, one of the staples on every cruise is that on boarding day, I and my family, or just myself, or whoever's cruising with me, goes to Cagney's on the first night. And I know you love
Nice.
Cagney's, so
Yeah,
you'll
absolutely.
definitely be with that.
Can't go wrong with that. Absolutely. Yeah, Cagney's is incredible. I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. It's one of my all-time favorite restaurants, not just on NCL, but like anywhere. Like if I had a chance to eat somewhere, I would choose to go eat at Cagney's. Like it's just so good. I can't say enough good things about it. There's a shot of Cagney's right there. You can eat outside if you want, which is great. On some of the newer ships, you get the experience of being able to eat out on the boardwalk. So, highly recommend Cagney's. So, restaurant wise, let's talk about what some of your favorites are on NCL.
Yeah, so actually, one restaurant that's been around since the beginning is Le Bistro. And it wouldn't be a cruise without going to Le Bistro. They have some of my favorite food, and I'm not a very adventurous eater. And Le Bistro is actually the French restaurant. So there's actually only one thing on the menu that I keep going back to, and that is the filet mignon and the
Uh,
profiteroles for dessert.
yep.
I mean, you can't get a better meal than that.
Oh man, it's so good. You are not kidding. So I like they used to have a pork which was like I don't know if it was I always get it confused. I don't know if it's filet de boeuf is what I currently eat and I'm getting that confused. Or no, it should be filet de pork or something like that. But anyway, they used to have a pork which was great. They did away with it and then they came out with just this incredible like beef tenderloin. That's my go-to at La Bistro. And then the profiteroles, I mean, out of this world. I've got to find a picture and finally put them on the show because they're essentially like what, a cream puff with ice cream, right?
Yeah, it's like a pastry with instead of having cream in the middle, it's ice cream, and it blows your mind. It's so good.
Yeah, and then they if that's not good enough, they have like they come with a little like tub of like hot fudge or whatever, and then they put it on there.
The
It's
best
the
chocolate, and they
it's
just
so
pour it
good.
all over it. It's the
Yeah,
best.
it's absolutely incredible. I'm with you. Those are out of this world good. So now that we know what your favorite restaurant is, let's talk about itineraries because we really don't talk about a lot about itineraries, or I haven't had an opportunity really to talk about itineraries on this particular show, and in terms of excursions and all that good stuff. So I know what one of your favorite itineraries is. It actually happens to be mine as well. But let's talk about that, and I might just have some pictures here that we can show as well.
Okay, yeah. So, my favorite all-time cruise itinerary is Bermuda, and it's perfect because most of Norwegian's Bermuda sailings are from New York, which is very close to where I live. So it's very convenient. There's no flying, no hassle. You just go right to the port, get on the ship, and you're in Bermuda in 2 days, and you're there for most of the week. You're there for 3 full days, and honestly, 3 full days is not enough. Not even
No,
close to being
I mean
enough
look at
time in
that.
Bermuda.
How could you want to leave that beautiful, picturesque beach? Like I find the beaches in Bermuda with these rocks are just on another level. It's just it seems fake. Like it looks like something out of a postcard, something that you'd never really see. You'd see in a brochure, but then when you're there, you're like, oh my
Right.
gosh, this is gorgeous, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Bermuda has so many different beaches. And like you say, some have the beautiful rock formations, but there's a few beaches that you just can't miss when you're in Bermuda that are, much more quiet on like
Right,
almost part of resorts. And that's what I find the best. Not the tourist attractions like Horseshoe Bay, but to
right.
find a nice, quiet beach to just sit back and relax. Some don't even have chair vendors. You just bring your own towel. That's what I that's what I like about Bermuda.
Yeah,
There's something for everyone.
I completely agree. So yeah, you can enjoy the beach if you want to go in town. You can go to Hamilton and St. George. And have you gone to the beaches that are at the very top of the island where it hooks around? I forget the name of that particular beach, but you actually have to. You can take a bus there, and then you just kind of walk, probably like a 20-minute walk, and then you've got this incredible just beach that like nobody goes to. Have you been there? I
Oh
forget the
yeah,
name of it.
absolutely. That's actually one of my favorite places on the island, which is in St. George's. And in the very like early years of first sailing to Bermuda, there was no ferry to get to St. George's. So
Oh
by
wow.
taking a taxi or the bus, it would take probably about an hour to get there and an hour back. So it was an all-day adventure. You're going there, you're going to stay there. Um, so now what I really like is Norwegian Cruise Line actually incorporated a ferry, uh, complimentary for their cruise guests. It docks right on the opposite side of the pier, and it's a ferry ride that takes maybe about a half hour, cuts the journey in half, right to St. George's. So that's their kind of little partnership with St. George's. That now that they're running a complimentary ferry, they're definitely going
Right.
to get more people to go there.
Yeah, it's great because and what I love is if you take the 7 day, so you get essentially 3 days there, right? So out of New York,
Mhm.
if you're going out of New York, it takes about, what, 2 days to get there. Then you dock the following morning. You get, basically 2 full days, 3 nights, and then about halfway into day three, if you will, you hop on board and you leave maybe like 4 or 5, if I recall correctly. So you get like 3 days to really
Right.
explore it. So I typically will do one day just beach, the other day like Hamilton, and the other day St. George. And there's just so much fun to do, to walk around, to see the beautiful houses and kind of everything that goes along with it. So obviously tons of stuff to do in Bermuda, and such a great itinerary. But I wanted to ask you about an itinerary that I have never done that I've been dying to do, and every year I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it next year, and then something comes up, and I just end up changing the itinerary, or I can't
Yep.
make it for whatever reason. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it the following year, and I've yet to do it. So I'm talking about Alaska. So I know you've been there. How
Oh
many
yeah.
times have you been there?
So I've been there twice, and my most recent time was on Norwegian Joy, and
There's the
it's
video.
definitely one of the best cruises that I've done scenery wise. It's obviously not a beach itinerary. You're
Right.
there for the scenery. You're there to see what Alaska has to offer. Like even right from the ship, there's so much that you can see just casually sailing to your next port. You're sailing through the inside passages and you can see wildlife on land right from your balcony if you have one or from the upper decks. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and here are some of the photos that you shared with me, and it's just, again, it's like out of a postcard. I mean, how incredible is that water? That water looks out of this world, and then the glaciers that you see, and kind of everything else. I mean, it's got to be probably one of those things that is just so memorable, right?
Absolutely. And I wasn't planning to go there this year, but I do have a cruise booked next year, which I haven't done before. It's the one out of Vancouver.
Okay.
And it's actually a back to back. It's a 2 week. So you leave from Vancouver and you're supposed to end in Seward, Alaska. But I'm going back to Vancouver. And by doing this itinerary, I actually think it's one of the best that they offer. You hit just about every port in Alaska. So it's a one shot deal.
Wow.
So if you could do that, that's probably your best bet. So you hit all of Alaska in one cruise essentially.
Wow, that sounds pretty awesome. What type of excursions did you do out there, or what would you say is like a must do if you're planning a trip to Alaska?
one of my favorite excursions that I've ever done across all of my cruising was actually in Alaska. And you have to time it right. I know the Alaska season starts technically in early May, but to do this excursion, you have to actually cruise between late June to early August. They only offer it during this time because of the reasons at the glaciers and the wildlife. They can't cruise through these areas at certain times because it's mating season for the seals and all the wildlife in the fjords and glaciers. So you have to catch it during that short time frame. But if you plan a cruise to Alaska during this time, it's an absolute must. It takes you right up to the glacier, and you really get to experience what you're there for.
Wow, that's super cool. And did you do the dog sled excursion as well?
Yeah, I just did that last year when I was in Alaska, and although it wasn't on, any snow or on a glacier, it was still nice to experience what it's like to be pulled in a dog sled. And they really treat their dogs amazing. And they're Iditarod winner dogs too. They're award-winning dogs that actually were in the Iditarod in past years.
That's cool. And I think you made a video of it, right? I think I recall seeing that.
Yeah,
Or some
absolutely, I
pictures of it,
did.
right? That's super cool.
Yes,
Wow. Yeah, that's one of the things that it's kind of high on my list to, once I go to Alaska, I have to do the dog sleds. Obviously, I love dogs and I think it'd be
that's an
super cool.
essential. You have
To,
to do it when
and you
you're
get to
there.
meet the puppies afterwards, right?
Yeah, they actually, every time a new litter is born, they put them in their own pen. And at the end of the excursion, you get to play with them for about a half hour.
Wow,
And
that's
the
awesome.
moms are so tame, and they love when you play with their puppies. So it's a great experience.
Oh, very cool. That's so awesome. Well, that's great. So definitely Alaska is on my list. Speaking of things on the list, so how many cruises have been canceled for you, and how many do you currently have booked moving forward?
So I'm up to 12, and I expect to have
12 that have been
another one
canceled?
canceled. 12 have been canceled,
Wow.
and I expect another one to be canceled upcoming for October. I don't know why I feel that way, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling that that's where we're going with everything.
Yeah,
So
I'm
that's going to be
totally with
number
you.
13.
Wow, 13. So yeah, I'm with you on that. We just found out a couple days ago that the CDC has pushed back the sail date from initially it was, well, September 15th is when all the cruise lines said, hey, we're not going to sail until September 15th. Now it's September 30th. And I know you and I are both sweating it because we both have cruises booked for October. And I think we had
Yes.
talked about it before. I kind of have a feeling as well that that's going to get canceled. And I'm totally bummed. And I got an email today from NCL about upgrading my room. And I'm like,
Oh no,
ah, man, I want to do it. But,
that's
it's like,
rough.
I know. It's like, I don't want to get my heartbroken. I'm already going to be heartbroken once the cruise is canceled, if it is indeed canceled. But
Yeah.
then, to possibly be in a even better room, it is what it is. So I made
Yeah.
sure because I didn't want to be that upset. I think it was last week I ended up booking. I ended up booking a cruise in February on the Encore because I need to get a taste of the Encore again. Um,
Oh
and
yes.
so yeah, I'm pretty excited. So now at least I have something to look forward to in late February. So after this October one, what is the next one that you have scheduled?
So the next one after that I have is for New Year's, which is actually my favorite time of year to sail
That's cool.
because the parties that happen on the ships are just amazing. It's like nothing on land than a
Really?
New
So
Year's
tell me about
party
that
at
because
sea.
I went on I want to say I went on a cruise that was close to like Christmas time, and it was fun because
Mhm.
the ship was, really decorated, and it might have been a short cruise. It might have been like a 2 night or something like that to nowhere. And
Right.
I remember saying, "Oh, this is kind of cool because there's such a cool vibe going on the ship." So tell me what that experience is like during the holidays.
Yeah, so if you sail anytime like after Thanksgiving till just about after New Year's, you'll be on the ship while it's decorated, which gives it a whole different vibe when you sail around Christmas time. That's where my family, because I always cruise with my family during that time of year, because I don't know, we like to be together, but we always take our Christmas card photos on the ships,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
it
That's
just makes
smart.
for a whole different experience because you get to see it at Christmas time, which not many get to see it like that.
Yeah, it's not what you would expect, right? But it's just, I don't know. There's just something really cool about it that I found. It just, I don't know, it makes you even happier. I mean, you're on kind of a vacation already. It's the holidays, so it's kind of like a double whammy of happiness. Is the best way that I can kind of describe
Yeah,
it.
there's nothing like leaving from New York in the snow. You
Yeah,
can't beat that.
that's true. That's true. And obviously going someplace warmer is always nice. So that's always kind of a plus. So I want to talk to you too about how you think cruising is going to change moving forward, because obviously it's not going to be the same, right? Nothing is really the same, at least for
Mm-mm.
whatever period of time. So what do you think is going to happen? I mean, obviously NCL has already talked about, and I have it pulled it up here, that they're working on something called Norwegian Peace of Mind, the Sail Safe kind of initiative. But I want to get your thoughts on what you think. And first, let me just mention, I guess, what some of these Sail and Safe initiatives include. So, an all-new filtration system, which is great, enhanced screening protocols, enhanced sanitation measures, responsible social distancing, which essentially means that the ships are not going to be at full capacity, which you and I have talked about, which is kind of nice. Selfishly, it is kind of nice
Right.
because less people, just more space.
I agree.
And enhanced medical resources and extended ship-to-shore safety, which essentially means that they're going to work with ports. NCL is going to work with ports that kind of, I guess, comply to this Sail and Safe initiative. So what are your thoughts on
And
all that?
I think that last one with ship to shore safety is almost key, because if these ports don't want us going to them, docking there, that can cause pretty big issues, because what's a cruise without a port? In the
Right.
past they used to do the cruise to nowheres, which I loved, and I wish
Yeah.
they still did them.
Yeah, that'd
But
be great.
most people go for the ports. So what's a cruise without being able to go anywhere these days? And if you can't go to a port, especially with the virus going on, that's it's not going to make for a good time for either the cruise line or the port. So giving that assurance for us as well as the ports is, I think, essential.
So, you actually just put a thought in my head. So, the cruises to nowhere, boy, those are phenomenal. So, for those of you who don't know what the cruises to nowhere are, so they are essentially 1 to 2 days, maybe 3 days, depending where you are. Robbie and I are both from the New York area, so they had these great cruises to nowhere from New York, typically around the holidays, around the fall,
Hmm.
where you can jump on a ship and then take a cruise that's either like a 1 or a 2 day, and you just go out into the middle of the Atlantic and you sail right back. So you get the cruising experience, but you don't have the commitment of being gone for a full like 7 days, and you don't dock anywhere. Again, you just go in the middle of the ocean, you come back, and it was a blast. So those were done away with a couple years ago. But Robbie, what do you think if they kind of brought that back to test out these new kind of safe and sail initiatives, or just got people, back to getting comfortable with cruising and testing out these measures?
So the reason that you can't do the cruises to nowhere anymore is actually because of the Passenger Vessel Services Act, which you have to dock in a foreign port at least one time during your cruise. And in a way, that makes sense. But in a way, I think there should be shorter cruises to nowhere still. Not wanting to go anywhere, just wanting to get away. Like you said, there's 1 and 2 nights. The one nights used to be ironically called dinner and dance cruises, because that's all you essentially used to do on those one-night
Makes sense.
cruises.
Yep.
But the best were the 2 nights and 3 nights, when you could just go out to sea to get your fix for 2 days and come right back to reality. And they used to fall over the weekend, which was so perfect.
Right.
And right now, I think those are kind of key. They would be perfect, especially right now when you were trying to get back into it.
What about, just for now, right? If you had the ship docked, like in New York, and you just use it as a floating hotel, right? And you can kind of
Right.
test out these measures, just do this for a short period of time, give people the opportunity to jump on like an Encore, or a Joy or a Bliss or something new or something or anything, really pretty much anything. But how cool would it be if we had the opportunity to do that? And maybe it didn't set sail, but maybe you can spend a weekend on the ship, and then
Right.
obviously all the safe and sail protocols would be in place so people would feel comfortable. But what do you think about that idea?
I think that would be a great idea. Like that's what we did for the inaugural, the
Right.
past 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah.
and it worked out, beautifully. You board it like a regular cruise. and you get off like a regular cruise, and they had all the activities still going on during our time there, and it didn't even feel like we were still docked. When we were on the Encore, you can agree with me that you didn't look outside much. We were too busy doing everything that
Oh
they had
yeah.
lined up for us, which was
Oh, it was great.
amazing. So
Yeah, it was
yeah,
awesome.
so we
Even when
just
we
did a
were,
quick
I was going to say, even when we were on the Bliss, I did the Bliss, I think, out of New
right,
York, and it was cold, right? So you really didn't spend a lot of time upstairs, on the top deck or whatnot. But there's just so
right.
much going on at all times that it's totally fine. You just have a blast doing all this other stuff that's available. And you're right. I think that there's an opportunity here, especially as we come in. We know we're not going to be sailing until the earliest being October, which means it's going to start to get colder. But still, I'd love to jump on a ship, even if it was stationary for a couple days and
Right.
enjoy it and have a great time. And why not? I think I think there's an opportunity there for the cruise lines to really do something and get people comfortable with cruising again.
I agree, and that would be perfect for the time that we are in right now. You can't just jump into a 7-day cruise. You have to take it slow, and I think that's what they're planning to do. The shorter cruises, and those will probably be from Florida. If Florida, the numbers are rising there, so
Right.
who knows how that will impact the future plans that they've had. But from our area of New York, to have a little trial group be able to do that would be probably key for their survival going forward.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. And obviously, we know that they can do a 4-day to Bermuda. It's
Yes,
essentially, you spend 8 hours on the island and you come back home. But I mean, it's still great to be able to get away, for 4 days, hit Bermuda. The only problem is Bermuda's a subtropical island, so it does start to get chilly, especially like in October. I guess towards the tail end of October,
yes,
it gets a little bit cold, so you're not necessarily going to want to jump in
absolutely.
water. But
Yeah,
still, it'd be great. It'd be kind of cool though. Now, granted, yeah, so maybe you don't go to Bermuda for the water, but what's it like there, perhaps in the holidays? It might be kind of cool to go check out, Bermuda, you know, all kind of decorated for the holidays.
yeah, and that's something, of course, I've never seen because I've only been there during, the early summer, spring months. So that would definitely be a whole different experience that I would probably go for.
Yeah, that'd be really fun to see everything kind of. I mean, it's beautiful already there, right? You got all the beautiful colors and
Yes.
the architecture, and it's just and the people are just super friendly. But yeah, it'd be kind of fun to be able to do that. So maybe that's something that I guess depending on obviously Bermuda and how they feel about it and whatnot, and see if it's at all a possibility to do. But I think that would kind of be cool to do, a
Yeah.
couple day trip to Bermuda during the holiday season you know, if we're at that point where we can set sail and it also depending on the islands, right? Like a lot of people want to get away and
Right.
get into the warmth around that time period as well. So um, just a thought,
Absolutely.
but I think we got a lot of good ideas. Hopefully NCL
Yeah,
will,
we
will
have to
take a
write them
listen.
down and send them in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll start
Maybe they'll
a
listen to
suggestion
us.
box, a virtual suggestion box for NCL. But it's always such a
Perfect.
great time. So, just a couple last questions before we kind of wrap it up.
Mhm.
So, you've got obviously your holiday cruise. Where is that going to, and on what ship?
So it's actually on the Encore from Miami, and it's over New Year's, and it's the week after as well. So it's a total of 14 days, and we're
Wow.
going to the Western Caribbean, which entails Roatan, Honduras, the beautiful private destination that Norwegian created of
Oh,
Harvest Caye,
yeah, that's a great one.
Costa Maya, which I like. It's nice there. There's so much to do, but I think that's going to be the perfect ship day, and Cozumel, Mexico.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. And you do that twice because it's 14 days?
Yes, it's a double.
Ah, okay. Very good. Very good. Yeah, so you have options, which is great. So you can, if you don't particularly like a port, you can hang out on the ship. There's always so much to do. So that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
So you got that
Any
in,
port day can double as a ship day.
yeah, there you go. So what do you have planned after that?
So after that, I'm back to New York because it's just so convenient. And the getaway is actually coming back to New York. So I'm going to be doing that the end of February into the beginning of March. to the Bahamas and Florida. So Port Canaveral, Orlando. I get my Disney fix all in the same week.
There you
The
go.
private island in the Bahamas and Nassau.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, let's see, it's probably been about a year and a half since I've been to Great Stirrup Cay, I want to say.
Hmm.
And I was there just as they were putting up the cabanas. And I mean, NCL has invested millions on this island.
Oh my gosh, it is
It's
beautiful.
great when I was there. I can only imagine how amazing it is now. And then Harvest Cay is out of this world good. That's in Belize. That's their other private island. So you can't go wrong anytime you see those two stops on the itinerary.
Absolutely, and they just added a whole beautiful new section and undeveloped. They took undeveloped land and completely made it their own, and it's a whole separate area called Silver Cove. And if you haven't seen Silver Cove yet, it's definitely something to see next time you're there.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think no. I actually stopped. My next cruise goes to Harvest Cay, and I remember having just a
Hmm.
great beach day there. It was awesome. It was so relaxing.
Oh
Got a
yeah.
lot of sun that day. It was a great trip. So I'm looking forward to going back there. So
Yeah,
very cool.
absolutely.
Well, Robbie, I want to make sure that everybody knows where they can follow you on social media. So obviously your handle's there on the screen, but is it across all platforms on Instagram and all that good stuff?
So on Instagram, I'm, as you see under my name, at Robby Cruise NCL. And on Twitter, my at is Robbie O625. And YouTube is just my name, which is above my Instagram handle. So those are the three main platforms that you can find me on.
Well, fantastic. Well, I definitely highly recommend checking out Robbie's stuff. If you are a cruise fanatic, you're going to love it. You've got so much great content throughout the 50 plus cruises that you've been on, which is incredible. And you keep adding stuff. And then you also keep us up to date because I know that you have a lot of friends who work on the ships that you've made throughout the years, correct?
Yes. The best part. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Robbie, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate you being on the show here this week and for keeping us all posted as well on social and keep up the great work. And hopefully we'll be all setting sail this October and we'll have plenty more
Yes.
pictures and stories to share with everybody here online.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
be able to continue doing what we love, which is cruising on Norwegian.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me back. I totally appreciate it. And it was nice filming the pilot with you, and it was nice to be back. So I just love doing this with you, Alex. It's great.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Robbie. Really appreciate it. Look forward to having you back. And for everybody else out there, this show is a weekly show on Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So feel free to send me some messages, send me some feedback, things that you like, things that you want to see, any type of questions, obviously, that we can answer. Happy to answer them here online. And yeah, if there's anything that you want to see, let us know, and I'll do my very best to put them on here. So, Robbie, thanks again, and everybody out there, we'll keep you posted next week if there's any hopefully good cruise news that we can share. So, until next time, we'll see you next week, everybody. Take care now.
Thank you.